hopefully they'll do the best for you. Okay, Sergeant.
Ben Schemmel, who's been with us for 7 years, left and went to the Legends. He's the first assistant at the Legends. So good for him, kind of thing. I was very proud of the fact that he's gone on to, he wanted to be in a private club setting, and that's where he's been able to go. We hired a young man, Tyler, who's on internship from this college, and he's working with us from Boston. Any Bostonians out there? We haven't had a Bostonian in the shop in a long time, so a lot of Midwesterners work for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a great kid. He's working out well so far, and he's going to graduate in May from the university he's going to. I can't remember the name of it. It's right outside of Boston. He's on internship here, and everything's virtual, and they don't have to be at school anymore. And once he graduates, he's going to stay with us. He's going to pursue a career as a golf professional. He's going to get in the PGA program as an apprentice, not as a PGM. And he'll do a couple of years through that, and we'll move forward. And we've also brought some of the ladies who worked in the snack bar, trained them in the pro shop, and we're able to use them cross-train, and we're able to go from there and go forward. This weekend, the Chicago guys will be here. The Chicago group's become a big part of our season. They'll be here for 3 days, starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And just so you know, the tent that went up, they are giving us $2,000 towards what we spent on it. They also provided us with a $1,500 sound system for it. So they're pretty good guys at the club and friends of the club. So we're happy to have them. They're going to have fun. And they're for the most part, they're very respectful and good guys. And even though they like to have a few cocktails, they still seem to be just perfect gentlemen as far as I'm concerned.
And Pop's Barbecue is going to do the barbecue one day?
Pop's Barbecue is doing Friday. They're doing barbecue. Sunday they're doing a steak and potato. Steaks, potato. And then on Saturday we're doing a little kind of like hors d'oeuvres. We're doing a low country boil, which is shrimp and potatoes and corn. I don't know if you ever had it. The Brown Bag local caterer is doing that for us as a thank you to them. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be nice too.
And the weather's going to be perfect. I see some people out there that are going to be volunteering. We appreciate you helping out. They like to have somebody score the groups because they are playing for a little bit of money. I think the winning team won like $2,000 a piece last year. So.
Well, last year when I was doing that, they were like, "Are you going to be with us tomorrow?" And I'm like, "No, you're playing another team tomorrow." Oh, and I'm like, "Because you guys cheat." And they're like, "Oh, right, that's right."
Other than that, there's not a lot going on. A couple things with the website I need to clean up. We have some issues with our calendar getting updated correctly, and I got to work on that. But all in all, so far so good. Knock on wood, it's been a good season. We had proper weather, and looks like we're gonna have a good season. And it looks like maybe we're gonna get on the other side of this virus and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, I have some questions, or a question.
Yes, sir.
Two, I'm trying to think. I don't know if anybody else ran this. I'm having a heck of a time getting to the shop, and I should have mentioned this at lunch the other day.
We've had some issues with Comcast. Comcast actually a couple times during the month has shut off everything at 1 o'clock, which is really disastrous for us. So, you have to wait an hour for it to come back on. And once it came back on, then the phone system's not quite right. So I called Steve, our phone guy, and he's like, "Yeah, hold on, let me check it out." He goes, "No, it's Comcast." I called Comcast, they reset. That didn't work. We called again, they reset. I think the 3rd time it worked. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I don't know if it has to do with the digging going on around here, or somewhere they're expanding their broadband, or they're going to 5G, I don't know. But we've had some issues. We have expanded our ability to broadcast from the clubhouse. We moved the receiver out a little bit, not that really has anything to do with the phone. But the phone is a Comcast issue. That being said, the current phone system that we have from Steve is 9 years old. It might not be a bad idea, and I hate to talk about spending more money, but in the next budget, to budget out for new phones and a new phone system, because it is getting kind of old. But none of the issues with it currently are them, it's Comcast.
So, and here's what I'm experiencing, and it's happening multiple times. I'll call, I'll press 2, it'll ring maybe once and then just go away.
Yes.
Or I call, press 2, and I get like a fax machine type sound. I don't know if anybody else, but I mean, this has happened to me 3 times, I think, in the last month. The other
Okay.
day, I drove up to set the tea time finally. I just drove up to the pro shop. But obviously, I have that choice. I have that ability because I live a couple blocks away, and it's worrying me now. Because, the first couple times, I was like, at first I thought maybe something to do with my phone, and then it keeps happening. We're using VoIP service, I guess, if it's through Comcast.
Right, we use a bundle. It's internet, TV, and phone.
What time of day was that, do you remember?
I called 3 times this morning.
Oh,
Twice driving here and couldn't get through. So it's the same stuff. And then the most recent time was, I think, like on a Sunday or something.
So we can explore the idea of turning the phone over to CenturyLink and going away from a bundle with them if this continues.
And I know this was something we did basically
It was a cost
It was a cost savings.
Right.
I use a VoIP phone for my work, and I typically, I might have a problem once a month or once every other month, but in general, mine's but it's not as robust as what we need. I don't know.
Well, if the situation continues, yeah, we could definitely look at calling in CenturyLink. John has CenturyLink down at his spot because Comcast won't run to that building, whatever reason.
Less than 15 grand.
okay. Can you check into CenturyLink and see?
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you that to do and let us know.
Yeah. Actually, my fiance's best friend is a higher up with CenturyLink, so that'll make me happy if I call him up and say, hey,
There we
can we
go.
do something with CenturyLink? But, yeah, I mean, and we haven't really had any issues we did it like 6-7 years ago, and it's all of a sudden, in the last month,
Right. No,
it's
I
become
agree.
this, and I don't know. It's,
So you got other complaints too?
oh, yeah. Oh, I called and couldn't get through.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, what the heck's going on? So I called Bobby on his cell phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on with the phones? I could go in the back and reset the box. Well, that did nothing. It's got nothing to do with the NEC phone.
But he still had internet access on the TV.
Yeah, internet access and TV are working fine, but the phone is just
Call CenturyLink.
dumps a call.
Yeah. Okay.
That doesn't make sense, because typically with mine,
It's
if
all
my
free.
VoIP phone goes out, I'm having a cable issue.
Well, I mean, obviously when they knock everything off, we have nothing. But
Right.
But when it comes back, we don't have phone.
Let me just say something. I had an issue similar to that in my home, and I replaced my modem, and I corrected it. Your modem is probably on a rental,
Yes, sir.
so wouldn't cost anything, just
I'll
have
call 'em up.
get you another one.
I'll call 'em
and
up.
try it before you spend any money.
I'll call.
Thank you.
Comcast.
How old is it, The modem?
Original.
Probably original.
Yeah, they're usually about 5 years,
Yeah, okay.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but no, I think, no, wait a minute, we did have an issue a couple years, I think they changed it 2-3 years ago.
Well, see, I mean, for the use of the cats,
Okay.
try that first. But put a call into CenturyLink anyway, just to get a price, an idea.
Especially for CenturyLink, they'll replace it.
Yeah.
Comcast will fix it.
All
Okay.
right, I don't have anything else other than that.
The next issue would be the clean air, the air conditioning in the pro shop. Want to do that, Mike? You were going through all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike's been doing some research on this.
Well,
Just, we received a report and a bill from the landlord that the air conditioning unit needs to be replaced through the entire pro shop. Jeff and I have a meeting with them tomorrow, but Mike, if you want to go with this?
Well, I got a copy of the lease, because everybody says that we're responsible for maintaining these kind of repairs, and in the lease, it's kind of vague, of course, but it does require the landlord is responsible for like some main things, which is the roof, and then there was another word in there, I don't understand what it means, but if it means like air conditioning units or vents or any of those kinds of things. Well, in the report that the Clean Air Management put out, they said there was some appeared to be possible roof leaks at one time. Well, if that's a roof leak, then we're not responsible for that. And the other things were like the insulation was missing. If it wasn't installed properly, is that our fault?
No.
You know what I mean? Or the duct condensation. It said that some of the stuff wasn't properly installed. Well, why should we be responsible for that kind of stuff? That's what I'm thinking. And then I guess there was a rodent issue.
Yes.
And that these weren't ours. Not that we have our own rodents, but I guess they came from Duffy's
Well,
over to our side.
So we've had a contract with Truly Nolan for probably 7-8 years. The original rodent issue happened when Stoney's, the last tenant before Duffy's, Stoney's, when they closed for 18 months. Basically they just locked the doors and left. God knows what was in there, and we had a massive rodent issue. To the point where we would have to, and I don't know if anybody remembers, we'd have to open the doors to the golf shop and let the air in because the smell would be so pungent in the morning when you got there from dead rats or rat
waste products.
Whatever it may be. We hired Truly Nolan at that time, and we've been on a monthly service with them for rodent removal, and we have rodent traps. And we've been fairly clean since, not really had any. We had a dead rodent outside this past week. You can smell it. It's been removed, I believe, and occasionally. But
You're going to get the palm rats.
palm rats are going to happen, especially when you got, whatever. They just happen. But the rats, the point I'm making is the rats didn't come from us, came from their
Next door.
closure for 18 months. Now, these are all legal issues that you want an attorney to maybe look at, because remember, the A in TAQ he is an attorney. And Chris called me something the other day at lunch. I didn't process. Years ago when the check was a day late for the rent, they kicked in this triple indemnity. And before that, it was a lot friendlier lease. The question I would have from that is, okay, we renewed the lease a couple of years back. Was there any consideration given to coming away from the triple indemnity? Because let's face it, since that 1 day late payment, every payment's been paid on time or before for the rent. And through the pandemic, through hurricanes, through everything, we never missed a payment. And to turn around and to ask what he's asking seems to be a little outrageous to me. But if it's legal, it's legal, and you gotta live with the consequence. But, this doesn't seem quite a fair business practice.
Well, and the other thing, Chuck, when we get this invoice for this clean air management and some of the other things they've done, as a tenant, shouldn't we have had the opportunity to say, we'd like to get our own company to come in and not just be slapped with a bill? Because this is something that I'm just, so if that's the case, they can do anything. Oh, we painted the outside of the building, you have to pay for it. We're doing this, you have to pay for it. Shouldn't we have the opportunity to say, well, we'd like to get, ABC company to come in and give an estimate?
Just in common sense business, I would say yes. From a legal perspective, I think that's probably something Dan ought to weigh in on what is required.
I believe that Mr. DeSalvo did say when he transmitted those, that if you wanted to get your own quotes, to let him know, and he would wait until we got those quotes back.
Dan, this is Eileen. The only thing that he offered to get a quote was when we were doing the air conditioning for Kobe Cool, and we asked Kobe to give us estimate. We were never asked if we wanted somebody to come in and look at the clean, this clean air management. We were never asked for them to come in and see it. The only one that he said, if you'd like to get your own estimate, go ahead and do that. This was work completely done that we were not even asked if we, do you want to use this company or your own company?
Not to mention it was done 4 months ago,
Right.
and we just get the bill, so
Yeah.
to me, that looks like somebody that did it and is trying to figure out a way not to pay for it. Otherwise, would we have gotten this a week or two after?
And we have met with Christine and Andy since then, and even when they came and they were going to give us an estimate on the air conditioning ducts and all, their guy came in and I said, well, aren't you going to look in the ceiling? I didn't bring a ladder today. Well, you're coming to give us an estimate and you didn't bring a ladder. And Kobe came in and gave us an estimate. I just feel like, especially with this, because the size of this bill, that we should have had the opportunity, and they should have asked us first before they're going to spend our money.
And I highlighted the same stuff, very similar to what Mike was saying. All through this text, it talks about things that to me sound like the original construction wasn't done properly.
Exactly.
And that should have been looked at when they bought it and had, you buy a house and you have a home inspection, they should have had this looked at that point in time, I would have thought.
So speculatively speaking,
Yes.
4 months ago when they do this fresh air or clean air or whatever inspection that they're trying to charge us $10,000 for, just using pure logic, that if you're going to have a insurance claim on the building, you have to do the entire building. So if there was some sort of insurance claim paid out for the other side, you have to do the whole thing. Because it's not two different, it's one building. So that's why he would have to do this clean air inspection. It's a lot of something that smells a lot like what was coming from over there 7 years ago to me about this whole situation.
And the other thing too is they redid all of the air conditioning, everything over in Duffy's, and then came out to do our side. I don't know why, like Jeff said, it wasn't done all at once. Dan, where do we stand on this?
Well, the operative provision in the lease, then paragraph 8, where it does talk about what the landlord's obligations to maintenance are. But, the landlord does have the ability to backcharge that to the benefited portion of the property. So, it is a triple net lease. The landlord is, identified basically for many of these additional expenses. I do believe this is an insurable loss. And I believe if we put it, through our insurance company, they're going to want their preferred contractor to come in and give them a bid to show that the price is reasonable and what they should be paid. So, I think your best bet on that is to take it to your insurance company.
Do we insure a building we don't own?
No.
Just the
No,
contents, right?
It's the contents.
We changed that last year, remember?
But whoever owns the building should be insured, if it's an insurable issue.
Yeah.
Dan, is there any way to tell if he was paid on an insurance claim? Is that part of public record?
I don't think it'd be public record.
No. But, I mean, again, I mean, if,
Typically, when you get in litigation, you would,
Discovery.
one of the first things you're going to do is to get a copy of their insurance policy, and then you would investigate that as a part of your discovery process.
okay. Well, Jeff and I are supposed to meet with Andy and Christine tomorrow. Thank you.
The building owners.
Yeah, the building owner and his
Property manager.
property manager. So, we'll kind of feel them out, and Chuck, I'll email you information from that meeting. I just, if this is the case, then I just kind of feel like whatever he chooses to do, he can throw it back at us and say, oh, I wanted to paint the building, you owe us for that. I wanted to change the doors, oh, you owe us for that. I wanted to change the windows, oh, you owe us for that, without us even getting our own vendors in to do it. I just feel like, and again, as Jeff said, since the start of this pandemic, we have not missed one payment. We asked them for an abatement because we weren't sure, and they were like, nope, when you run out of money, come to us. So we have struggled, we've cut corners, we've done everything to make sure that they get paid on time. And
We laid off staff. I mean, I lost a really good staff member to this.
because we had to make payments, and so I'm just,
It's not a two-way road.
no, it's not.
We get jammed right and left on this whole deal.
Yeah,
It's a one-way street, and they're driving a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, and there's a brick wall at the end that we're...
Right, and once again, when this contract went back out for renewal, how come we couldn't get off this triple indemnity? I mean,
I believe they wouldn't agree to it
Yeah.
did we try?
Pretty simple.
Dan, did we try that?
because they had no legal obligation to agree to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was put in place because you did have major
Once-
issues back in '09 and 2010, so you were in financial distress.
And it's like, it's stuck on an island, you can't get off because there's no way beyond it. It's a major expense to change.
When was the last time?
He's a sole provider, so, and
I
he knows
know
it.
we reached out to Miramar, it's probably been 10 plus years ago.
The only lease, that was what.
I know, but I know, at that time we reached out about the land across from CVS, potentially buying it was the thought, but Miramar came back and wanted to do a 99-year lease or something.
They're still in an only lease program.
I don't know, the more I think about it, I'm like, I don't know, is that worth it, just to get away from this?
I was thinking maybe we get, on some of the property that we own, do a double-wide trailer, make that our pro shop,
Well-
and do something for, I'm just...
Then you got parking
We've
issues.
tried to configure that a few times.
I mean,
But then we have to lease the parking lot for 10 grand a month. So it's,
maybe
because they also own the parking lot.
with the status of, these properties for restaurants right now, and the generally business environment for that type of a building, that we would be in a favorable environment to try to buy that.
Buy the building?
Yep.
You'd be
I
willing to
think,
sell it.
I've had some conversations with people that have approached them, they're asking quite a bit.
Well,
If I had to guess, we're talking probably close to 5 now.
First to do what?
to buy the whole building.
If we get that from anybody in this current business environment.
I agree,
The impact that, COVID has had on the restaurant industry. And I think if we could just, maybe have that discussion, it may go somewhere.
Maybe that's,
Where are we gonna get that kind of money?
We have a better opportunity
Well-
now.
Now, thinking from a community standpoint, We have a community that's interested in potentially building a bigger community center. You know, I'm not saying it's feasible, but there might be some options to look at as a community. If we wanted to get a hold of that building, we might be able to utilize 2 buildings to answer
All the questions.
you know, a bigger workout room, bigger community center. And based on what we could potentially get it for, it'd be cheaper in the long run to do that than try to build something here or build something somewhere else. So they're not saying it would work or even be feasible, but
worth
it is
exploring.
something that would be open to discussion. I think the HOA might be open to that. As a community, we might be better off. Not just the golf course, but the community in general.
Can I say one thing from experience? As bad as this situation with him is, and this whole triple indemnity nonsense, I've seen more purchase of clubhouses, building bigger clubhouses, expanding clubhouses, sink more golf courses than anything in our business.
I'm not necessarily talking about the golf course.
Yeah.
As a community. The
Yeah.
golf course would be a piece of that.
Right, but it just, you know, just remember, a lot of great golf courses have said, okay, let's build build a big clubhouse, or take on a big clubhouse, and it just sinks them. It really, because like $30,000, we didn't, 30 days ago, we didn't think about we're gonna have to spend. And $500,000 we're gonna have to spend in less than 6 years on total renovation of greens. And we'd like to do the cart path so we can never have to close. All those things, and then all of a sudden you put this, we buy a $5 million building and we got a note on that.
I will say, Jeff, 5 minutes ago, you were wanting to get out of the lease.
Oh, I'd like to get out of the lease. I'd like to get out of the
I
lease.
just started to paint a picture that
Yeah.
potentially could work, and you just torpedoed it.
Well, no, I'd like to get
I
out
don't know
of
what
it.
you want, man.
But like the down, hey, look,
I'm sticking my neck out for you. You just,
it's the
it's
devil.
going to go out now, we're going to spend $5 million on a building, and we're going to charge people $200 for a round of golf.
6 years.
Don't be able to walk the dog without getting all that.
Listen, Chris, I know you were saying about the workout facility, but wouldn't keeping Duffy's in there look better for us when we go to the bank and say, hey, we already got a tenant for 10 years paying?
Potentially, I don't know. I'm throwing an idea. I have.
It's a good idea.
It might
It's
just be a.
It's just, I would feel bad if I didn't say to you, this is what I've seen over these years, like these clubs, and Phil,
Yeah.
these clubs, they build these big mausoleums and they take on these huge notes and it sinks them.
Seen it too.
Well, I mean, this is something, maybe we can have another HOA CDD meeting and discuss it with them. They may say, we want no part of it, maybe it's something we can pursue.
I mean, honestly, the entire way it was sold years ago is just absolutely awful. And now you're in this situation with this lease that's just
Killing us.
handcuffing us.
There doesn't seem to be any good faith
There's
at all.
No.
No, there isn't.
At all.
No.
So I don't know if we have any recourse in that regard or not, but I don't know. I think you gotta look at all options and.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not, Chris, I don't mean to poo-poo
No,
on your
what would our
plan.
current, what note would our current rent cover?
I don't know, I'd have to run the numbers.
10,000 a month, so.
Plus, because we get stuff like this.
Yeah,
20,000 a year.
You know.
20 grand a year for 5 million.
You'd be doing a bond for sure.
Right.
You gotta get out 20,
Oh,
30
yeah,
years at least. so.
anything, right, anything would be done. But I'm just saying, our current rent would cover a pretty big nut.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're-
A pretty big payment on that
And
nut.
add an amenity.
And you're able to keep them as a tenant if you wanted, I mean, that would help, but, if you wanted to make it part of the amenity for the community,
If you keep Duffy's as a tenant, you're making.
Oh, it's a
20 grand
no-brainer.
month instead of
We get it.
10.
oh, absolutely.
So,
Now, remember, they have not paid
I
rents.
think ideally, we would go to this move before Duffy makes the first commitment to coming back in.
right.
While you're still uncertain, maybe we did have no income. Once Duffy's back in there,
Right.
if we start valuing it, generating the appraisal on an income basis versus fair market value, that's what blow it up.
Yeah. Well, they haven't paid rent since February.
Really? I thought they were doing renovations.
That's a rent a year now.
Yes, it is being renovated, but they haven't paid rent.
Yeah, they haven't been there since the middle of March, and they closed before St. Patrick's because,
But they are putting money into renovations, right?
Someone is.
maybe.
The gentleman I talked to, the contractor, said they were already in for like over 700,000 for this current renovation project.
That fees
Why
are
are there
cute.
12 pods sitting in the parking lot?
Well, whoever's from the bill. I don't know who.
Yeah, whoever's paying that.
I don't know whether it's the landlord or whether it's the PPP. I mean, we don't have access to who actually is footing the bill for this, but they have not paid rent since February. And we have. We paid every dime on time.
Well, no wonder they want 50 grand out of us.
Yeah. Chuck, with this, let's assume we have to pay this, and let's assume we have to go through this. We can't do this as one lump sum. Can we do a payment plan with them? There's no interest?
Well, just looking at the lease again, we've been paying for an insurance policy for casualty as part of our triple net lease. So, you need to file a claim with this insurance company.
Okay.
We've been paying a policy for him, for his,
Well, as part of the triple net.
yeah, well, there you go.
That's an expense that he passes through to us as additional rent.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Jeff, we'll discuss that with them tomorrow?
Can we get that in writing that we can use as a bullet tomorrow?
It's in
It's in the
the
lease.
Where in the lease
Where
is
is
it?
It's under the insurance, tenants.
Where it says landlord insurance
Yep.
responsibility.
Okay, perfect.
And we can prove that we've been paying for it, Dan?
It's,
Is that our responsibility?
Dan, it's included in our
He sure
rent?
It
has,
is. It's
he sure has, if you haven't
common
passed
systems.
anything else onto it, I'm sure he has.
But this sounds like. Just placing it.
Is that 21 on the lease?
Right, and it's part of it would be part of the can, here.
Okay. Very good. We will, I need a copy of that. Deal with them tomorrow on this, but thank you. Good to know. Okay, I think we beat this horse enough. Any other comments on this? Like I said, Jeff and I will be meeting with them tomorrow, and Chuck, once we're done, I will email you what came of it, and then you can get it to the rest of the board.
Yep.
Okay. All right. The non-recoverable funds, Chuck, that's that, we said we were going to wait until, what was that? Okay. The non-recoverable funds, that's what we're going to wait for the budget for next year. That was at
Oh.
14,000.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to,
Have you all written off,
yeah, but we're going to write it off
you know?
at budget time?
We can do that as part of a budget amendment.
Okay,
Bring forth other items, which we typically do every year.
okay,
So we'll write it in. We'll have to just remember to make sure we write that in.
okay, yes, okay. Great. Okay. The resolution for the rules, we discussed that at the last meeting. That's where that increase in prices was included. And again, that is just giving us the parameters to increase it if we want to or have to, but it is not something that is going to be done. And I mean, it gives us the leeway to do that.
Correct. Just to kind of frame this for the record, at the last meeting, we'd actually offered up to you all a draft revision to your Chapter 1 rates, rules, fees, and charges for the golf club. This is the Chapter 1. This was originally adopted back in 1999. There were some language updates and revisions to the rule itself. but more importantly was resetting the golf rates because it had effectively been 20-plus years since they had been visited previously. And the idea here is to create ranges that will put the district in a position of not having to revisit these rates on a regular basis and every time that you want to make a change to them. So setting a ceiling that's a good bit above where your actual rates are as of today, giving authority to your golf pro to essentially make adjustments on the fly and in line with market rates at the time and any special conditions that may be presenting themselves. So with that, I think really, Jeff, I think you had anticipated these probably will buy you a good 5 to 10 years at least. And
Absolutely.
so we shouldn't have to revisit these again, but again, these are max, and we're not going anywhere near these today, just to set the record straight for all of the public that is here with us today. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, I would exhaust any comments by the board, and then we do officially need to open up the public hearing for public comment.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? We went through this last week? Last time?
Are we talking about Resolution 2021-02? Is that all part
The
of
one
this?
behind tab 6. And we
Yeah, so
did
B-
provide the affidavit of publication showing today's meeting was properly advertised for the public hearing.
Right.
And 2021-02 is the actual resolution that needs to be considered.
It's okay. I was just making sure, because
Yep.
and again, I mentioned this when we went through it the first time, in K, 105, 1.05, K, I don't know, do we have this? I mean, I guess we could always have a car towed, but I know, like Jack keeps his box truck up there. He negotiated that with TAQ.
Yes, he did.
He didn't have to ask our permission because we don't own the parking lot.
The only time that has ever come into issue was back in the old Stoney's days, and cars would